Today we're going to talk about Workbook 3A, Exercise 8. In the textbook, it's on page 24 through 26. Now, the textbook shows you on page 24 how to find the sum of 2,803 and 1,443. And it shows it kind of two different ways. Again, I say that doing math vertically like this, where you add from the ones and then the tens and then the hundreds and the thousands, I call that right to left because you start on the right side and go to the left. That is fine for a season, but I would like you to continue working hard to think about numbers so that you can add from left to right. I'm going to do the demonstrations in this recording of how you could do math from left to right, because of course we know it's the same thing every time when you go right to left. When you start with the ones, 3 plus 3 is 6, 0 plus 4 is 4, 800s and 400s is an extra 1,000 and 200s left over, 2 and 1 is 4,000. That's the same every time. The goal really is to take these numbers and think about how to add them more with a mental style and by thinking about thousands and hundreds and tens and ones. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate. To do that, when I add the numbers that way, I start by looking at the thousands place, 2 and 1, and then I'm going to consider the hundreds place. I have 3 thousands from the thousands, but I know that I have another 1,000 straight from the hundreds place. So I just start by writing down a 4,000. Now when I've made a 10 out of 8 and 4, the 8 is gone and the 2 is gone, and what I have left is 2 hundreds. And a quick glance at the tens place shows me that I'm going to stay with 2 hundreds. I don't have enough tens to make another 100. So I'll have 200. And then currently I have 4 tens, and I can do a real quick look at my ones and see that I don't have another 10. So I'll have 4 tens, 6 ones. 3 plus 3 is 6. And so it takes a lot more thinking because you're keeping it in your head, and it feels slower maybe at first, but it's kind of like I've said to your parents in a recording, and I say this all the time, a baby starting out will always start by crawling, and they're really fast at crawling. And then there comes a time when they want to start to walk. The truth is, it's faster for them to crawl because they take a step and they fall down, and they take 3 steps and they fall down, and every time they stand up, it takes them a long time. But eventually, they are really fast at walking, and it's faster to walk than it is to crawl. But there's sometimes when you have to sort of slow down a little bit and do something a little slower so you can learn the fast way. I think that this is kind of like crawling, and I think that doing it this way is kind of like fast walking, but it might take you a little bit of time slowing down to learn how to do it the left to right way so that you can go faster later. So even if it feels slower, please stop going the crawling way and work on doing it the way that will eventually become faster. I'm going to do several more examples as part of this recording so that you can see how to think about things. I love this on page 420 or on page 25 where it kind of walks us through thinking about it. 4,263 add 5 is 4,268. We just added a 1. What if I add 2 tens? Well, then I would have 4,283. What if I added 4 hundreds? I would have 4,663. What if I added 3,000? Then I would have 7,263. Now, if I, in one step, added 400 and 20 and 5 for this one's easy because nothing actually changes from a 10 to 100 or 100 to 1,000. I would have 4 in my thousands place, but now I have 6 in the hundreds place, 8 in the tens place, and 8 in the ones place. And if you did it again, but this time you also added the 3,000, then you'd have 7,688. See how they step you towards doing that all at one time by doing it a bit at a time? But the next three examples show us how to think about it when you do make a 10 or 100 or 1,000 out of the other numbers. 2,048 add 2, you can think of 48 add 2 is 50. You can think of the fact that 8 and 2 make a 10, so you're going to add 1 to the tens place. That will be 2,050. On number 3, 5,840 plus 60, 4 tens and 6 tens gives me another 100. So instead of 5,800, I'll have 5,900. On number 4, 700 and 300 give me another 1,000. So instead of 3,000, I'll have 4 in the thousands place. And we're just learning and remembering. Do you remember if you did primary 1 with me? Do you remember how I said in the beginning it's so important to work on those tens because they come up a lot? Then on page 26, we just get to practice. And we're going to do it. Hopefully the colors don't mess you up. 1,000 doesn't have any other 1,000 to go with it. And if I look at my hundreds, I'm definitely not going to make another 1,000 with the hundreds. So I'm very sure that I can put a 1 in the thousands place. Then, I think I'll erase these as I go so it doesn't look too overwhelming. Then I'm going to look at my hundreds number. I have 2 hundreds. When I look at my tens, I'm definitely not going to have enough to make another 100, so I'll just put a 2 in the hundreds place. Now I'm going to look at my tens. I have 5 tens, but look at the ones. I am going to have enough to make another 10. So instead of 5, I'm going to write 6. Then we just have to decide how many extra ones do I have after I made that 10. Since 8 and 2 make 10, and 4 is 2 and 2, the 8 is gone and the 2 is gone. That went over to the tens. And now I have 2 ones left over. And I continue doing that process. I'm going to look at the thousands and consider the hundreds. I have 3 thousands. I'm not going to have another 1,000 based on those hundreds, so I have a 3 in the thousands place. Now I'm going to look at my hundreds and consider my tens. I have 6 hundreds. I don't have any tens that are going to make 100, so I'll put a 6 in the hundreds place. Looking at the tens, I have 4 tens altogether, but from the ones I will have another 10 because 9 and 1 make a 10. So instead of 4 tens, I'm going to have 5 tens. Because I used the 9 and the 1 to make a 10, the ones that I have left include the 4 that I have remaining from the 5. So 2,409 plus 1,245 adds to be 3,654. And if you're stopping and thinking about each number, that's not too hard. And you can write something down to keep up with it if you need to. Let's look at C. I have 4 thousands. When I look at the hundreds, I do not have any extra, so 4,000 is the first number. I have 700. When I look at my tens, I'm going to have another 100, so I'll just write down an 8 in the hundreds place. In the tens place, The 9 and the 1 are gone because that's what made 100. I have 3 tens left. Really quickly, consider the ones. Is there going to be another 10? No. So I have 3 tens and 9 ones. You could pause and do it on your own and see if you get the same answer I do. See if you think about it like I do. I look at the thousands. I have 7. I look at my hundreds. I'm going to leave it at 7,000. I look at my hundreds. I consider the tens. I definitely will have another 100. 2 and 2 is 4, plus that other 100 is 5. Now I'm going to think about the tens. When I put the 6 and 8 together to make a 10, maybe you thought of it as 6 and 4 makes a 10, and I have 4 tens left. What about my ones? I'm not going to have another 10, so 4 tens and 2 ones. Let's look at letter E. There's only a 6,000 in this number. The other number doesn't have 1,000, but when I look at the hundreds, I do have another 1,000. So I'll just put a 7 in my thousands place. When I see the 2 and the 9, I know that that made a 10 with 1 left over. A quick glance at my tens place will tell me there's not going to be another 100. I'll just have 100. And then I have 9 tens. Quick glance at my ones tells me that that doesn't change, so I have 9 tens, 7 ones. Last one on this page, 5,402, add 2,960. I see 7,000 and another 1,000, so I start by writing down an 8. In my hundreds, the 1 and the 9 are gone. I have 3 hundreds left. My tens are not going to make 100. My ones are not going to make a 10. And so I have 8,362. If you just look at the first digit and then consider the next one, you'll be going in the right direction. There are, I thought I had a few more practice problems, but I don't. So that's the end of this recording, and after this, you could do exercise 8 in your workbook.